Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Bianca Collins. I'm the curator of public programs for the Fowler Museum at UCLA. It's a pleasure to present today's program as part of our Disrupt the Fowler series. Disrupt is a UCLA student design organization that aims to establish inclusive spaces and create opportunities for students of all backgrounds to engage in creative collaborations. The Fowler is honored to partner with Disrupt to offer programs that break down barriers in the art world and promote innovative ideation through inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility. Today, we are welcoming the legendary Mr. Cartoon. Mr. Cartoon is a disruptor in the fine arts whose refinement of the fine line technique in graffiti, canvas, murals, and most famously, tattoos, challenges the boundaries of art and brings Los Angeles street art style into galleries and international exhibitions. Mr. Cartoon also infiltrates corporate design through partnerships with such companies as Microsoft and Nike. Through his community-based initiatives, Cartoon serves as a mentor and an inspiration to Angelenos and those beyond the city. Disrupt is repped by Gustavo Tipetla today, a UCLA Design Media Arts undergraduate with a minor in Visual and Performing Arts education. His focus as a designer is to create influential and impactful works through technological mediums to manifest the metaphysical into the physical via the truth of light as a means of refinement. He is an aspiring professor with the goal of teaching at UCLA while maintaining his design practice. Before we get going, 2 technical bits of housekeeping. First, once the screen sharing begins, please click View Options and then select Side-by-Side mode so that the video feed doesn't cover any of the presentation and you can see both our guests at once. If you have any questions during the program, please submit them through the Q&A function found at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can submit and upvote questions that you would like to be considered to be answered at the end of the program. All right, that's enough from me. Over to you, Cartoon and Gustavo.
Hey, hey.
Hey, what's up? Welcome, brother. Thank you for coming on the
Welcome,
show
brother.
today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Grateful
you're
to
so
be
welcome.
here.
Thank you. So yeah, let's get rolling. First, yeah, let me just say that you're a huge inspiration to many of us in our community. You not only just break the boundaries as a disruptor, but you also just inspire and give so much back. You're always contributing back to our community. So we just want to thank you for everything that you do for us. And yeah, welcome to the show. Glad to have you. And let's get into it.
All right. Thank you, Gustavo. I appreciate you having me here. Thank you to Bianca and the Fowler Museum to be able to come here and rap to you guys and share concepts and ideas. And everything I'm pretty much going to talk about is my personal experience. So grab what you can use in your life, and the other stuff doesn't apply. Don't trip. I won't take it personal. And yeah, let's break it down and let's talk about it.
All right,
Wow.
yeah,
Gustavo, you want me to talk over this right here?
yeah. Just go through these images and just let us know what we're looking at so we can share
All
with
right,
everyone watching.
dope. This is my early drawings. I don't even remember seeing these really. My mom had them stashed somewhere. My mom says everything, fortunately. Most of my drawings were all about like war and tanks, and here seems some type of pirate is taking off on a motorcycle guy, and some type of politicians. It says vote. I mean that's pretty relevant right there. But I was a little boy. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just drawing what I was seeing at that age. I hadn't really found a niche yet, right? I was just drawing what was around. This had to be the late 70s. So as I got a little bit older, I started to evolve and I fell in love with graffiti art. These stick people turned into letters, and I started to find hip hop as a teenager. Maybe we want to go to the next slide. Okay, this is at the same time that I'm in love with graffiti art, and I had to go get a job, you know. So I seen this old man at a car show airbrushing t-shirts, and he made it look so easy, you know. That old man, he had to be at least 30 at that time, but seemed like an old man to me at that point. And he made it look so easy, and I was like, man, if he could do it, I could do it. And when I tried it, it was extremely difficult. I mean, I really, found a lot of problems with thinning the paint and getting the brush to work correctly. And it would take me about a year of messing with it to really get a handle. So in this picture, I'm probably about, I gotta say, 18 years old. At a car show, I painted a banner. I graduated from San Pedro High School. I grew up in the harbor area of LA. My parents are Chicano, so I'm second generation Mexican American. My parents are still married. My father's birthday is coming up. He's gonna be 79. He's still a real character, real funny. That's been my real gift, if you will. My parents are very cool people and into art, but never imagined having a career in art, blue collar style. You don't go become an artist, man. You go learn how to be a plumber or go wrench on a motor. You know what I mean? Be a real man. So I had to I was way too lazy for any of that. So I was like, man, I get motivated though when it comes time to paint. And this was still kind of lowbrow. I was like airbrushing people's names of their car clubs or their old lady's name or their plumbing service. And little did I know, airbrushing in front of this crowd at, say, Garfield High School in East LA, I was preparing to do what I'm doing with you right now. And that is public speaking, being in front of a virtual crowd today. But if this wasn't, we'd be in some type of an auditorium or somewhere in public. And I didn't know I was preparing this. I also didn't know I was preparing to be a clothing designer. And these are some of the first business cards I ever designed. The one in the middle is mine. And it says inside, the Rhodium Swap Meet. And then the house was like my house number or something. My mom would answer the phone if they'd ask for cartoon. She would say, Cartoons Customs, how may I help you? So as a little kid, I was kind of like just trying to figure out my way. This is a business card I drew for somebody, one of my peers, was trying to get a window washing thing. And I had to be 13 years old or something when I drew. But my father owned a little print shop where he was a lithographer. So he put business cards or wedding invitations or party flyers or a poster, any of these type of things on paper. So I had that advantage of, he knew what camera ready artwork looked like, so that's how I learned at a young age how to get my stuff published, almost by just chance. We can go to the next one. I think this is where we're going to get into some graph. So yeah, at the same time, I'm trying to find a legit job. I'm still in love with graffiti. I'm still doing vandal graph, not asking for permission. Some of it I'm asking for permission. But my sister gets me a job doing graffiti for the studios like Paramount and Universal. And they had this fake corner in LA, and they would just tell me to destroy it, to bomb it, to do layers of graffiti. Like I'll write my homeboys' names and I'll get a roller and try to buff it and then write over that and then throw a soda on it and then just make it look lived in, you know what I mean? And my mom typed up an invoice and on a typewriter and I turned it in. And I was like, man, this is like hitting a lick. This is like a robbery for them paying me to do that. And the craft service table, I couldn't believe it. And I'm 17 or something on the set. So it was my first taste, and it instilled in me in this weird way this confidence that I could do it without being smart like you guys and going to school and getting a degree in art. And if I would have if maybe my parents had gone to school like that, I would have been more motivated. At 51 years old, I am now finally motivated to be with you guys. You know what I mean? Be in the front row, raising my hand, paying attention, But back then I was all over the place, but I knew that I loved art. I knew that it made me feel good and I was able to pull off a job here and there. But eventually it would snowball into a career because I never stopped, no matter what. Even when I make mistakes or I got burned from a client I just kept pushing forward, and I was just more like, wow, that person's really shady. Don't mess with them, instead of like, oh man, I'm getting out of this shit. Because this is a weird job. This is a weird thing of us having an invisible idea in our head, a concept in our brain, and it manifests somewhere. And at this time, the easiest way for me was a wall. It was something big. I learned how to scale wall. And see, graffiti, gang culture, all that stuff shaped me as a young man and taught me a lot of good things, and it told me some bad things, right? I'm an optimist, so I lean towards the good things, and I looked at the custom cars, the candy paint jobs, the murals, the gold leaf, the engraving, the girls that attracted. Like, I'm a teenager, so anything to fit in, anything to not look like goofball, which you are when you're 18, 19 years old. You're just trying to figure it out. And yeah, so graffiti saved my life. And it gave me the confidence to go and become a real artist, like to get paid for it. And this is the only job I've ever had. I've never had maybe I never had the balls to go walk into McDonald's or get a type job, because I didn't know really that. So I just stuck to what I knew and pushed towards that. But let's go to the next one. So I'm still doing graffiti at this point. This is a couple years ago. The left side is my mural that I painted just for the Museum of Contemporary Art. It was a temporary wall that they built in front of my showpiece, which was my ice cream truck. And I have a hand-painted vintage 1963 ice cream truck that I candy painted with fantasy murals. And if you see it, it's outrageous. It's out of hand, loud, insane, but it's an ice cream truck, so you can get nuts on it, right? But this mural, I wanted it to be very tonal and almost classy, if you will, for like a knucklehead classy. I had to paint it in front of all my peers also. So I have the best graffiti writers in the world coming from Brazil, coming from Europe, coming from New York City, watching me paint this shit, while they were painting their own murals. That ended up being a huge success. Jeffrey Deitch, a real art collector and coordinator, made this happen. And my friend Esteban Orio was also in this, and my friend Risk was in it, Saber, Revoke, all these different graffiti writers and street artists that I look up to. Now, at this time, it was starting to catch steam. Now they got a name for it now, street art. We were like, all right, we'll take it. And, graffiti is kind of a word that can bum people out, So this now, we're painting it for the city of LA, LA Pride. On the right is the release of my Cortez shoe. So I've done about 12 shoes with Nike. And prior to us street artists doing it, was only pro athletes that would do shoes, never before like street artists. So this is showing one of the events, pre-COVID. And we parked a bunch of classic cars. We had break dancers and poppers. We had glass cases with the shoes in it. King Taco did the catering. I mean, this is a dream right here. This is one of my crazy dreams I get to live out in real time. Next, please. Tattooing, this is the most hardcore out of all forms of tattooing, in my opinion. The most hard, the most lowbrow, like beyond the most shittiest looked at artist is like tattooing. Tattooing's like done in jail cells and motels, and it's the riffraff, you know what I mean? But I fell in love with it because hanging out in tattoo studios, you can really, once you smell the green soap, the surgery going down. But these are street guys doing surgery. Prior to that, all my graffiti I seen was homeboy tattoos. Um, they were tattoos. Can you see me, Gustavo, clean and everything? Cool, because
Yep.
I was messing with that camera earlier.
You're good.
I fell in love with tattooing by getting my sleeves. Prior to that, the tattoos I'd seen from that would come out of jail, some of them were tight and some of them weren't. They were crooked, misspelled, fall out half the tattoo, and then some of them were tight. So I was kind of like, I waited till I got in my early 20s to get all my sleeves. But once I was in it, I submersed myself. And, you know, I found out that tattooers were very poorly paid at that time. I had been already at this time, by the time I'm learning to tattoo, I'm in my mid 20s. I'm working for Hustler magazine, which was like a pornographic magazine back then. Larry Flint, legendary guy. I'm doing like stories about gangs and serial killers, and I'm doing these illustrations for the magazines. I'm doing logos, I'm doing album covers, I'm muraling cars, I'm muraling lowriders. I grew up in body shops too. I hung out in auto body shops. And all this, I just did it because I loved it and I wanted to build a 64 Impala. That was my only goal in life, you know? And I did all this art in order to afford low riding, which was my true passion. But it's so expensive, it's so tedious, it's so crazy, you know? But the tattooing afforded me to be able to barter and to be able to pay for low riding. So, and that's what people know me for now. But I was already a professional artist, and that really worked against me, being that they thought I went to art school. And in the tattoo world at that time in the 90s, they frowned upon any formal training because they looked at it as cheating. And tattooing was started by like plumbers, like guys that were blue collar workers that just got a line, got a pattern, put it on, and followed the lines. It wasn't about creating a fine piece of art. It was sailors getting icons, street icons tattooed on them. By the time Chicanos got a hold of tattooing, we started powdering the cheekbones on the girls and making the hair longer and over exaggerating these icons, you know what I mean? To really make our culture romantic, make it dangerous. You know, these tattoos, man, you can get punched in the face wearing one of these things if you're not certified, you know. So all that politics, street stuff, all that goes into this culture, but they ain't getting paid shit. And I'm like, oh man, this is way harder than doing illustration. So I started out the day I started, didn't know what I was doing. I put a $500 minimum. And I just raised it from there to where I was getting, you know, a couple grand for a tattoo. And that was unheard of in the business. It shook the whole business. And half the people got mad at me. The other half were glad that I did that. And thank you. Now everyone does it. But when I started like that, it was extremely frowned upon. Can we go to the next slide? So coming to more modern day to day, these are collaborations in 2021 and 2020 I started. Modelo is, you know, I only work with brands that I like, that I use, that you know, I feel. And, you know, to me, landing this Modelo gig is, I don't know what's better. It's like if In-N-Out called me and was like, hey, you know, we want you to do a secret burger, like a tune burger in our hidden menu. You know, it'd be, you know, war wanting to play for my daughter's birthday or something. You know, like these are big events that I don't take lightly. Being able to do the World Series Dodgers card for Topps, another thing that's blew my mind. Tommy Lasorda, an icon, to be able to draw his. Roberto Clemente, which was, you know, me growing up in San Pedro, we would always wear P caps and Pedro Pirates, you know. Our high school is San Pedro Pirates. So this was real big to put that P. And my car club, is called Pegasus. So it's weird how we wear that P too. So these are things I really believe in. You know, the Clippers approached me and they were dope because they really wanted to do outreach too. And that's something I'm very passionate about is you guys are like on a university level. You guys are, I'm speaking to an educated crowd tonight, but I balance it out by going into like youth authority, the LA County Jail, Sylmar Juvenile Hall, going into at risk high schools and going into regular high schools and just talking to the art class or bringing kids into, say, the Peterson Museum if I'm showing one of my cars. If I have one of my cars behind me, or if I'm holding a Nike shoe I designed, it gives me a lot more leverage to be able to give these kids an hour power free seminar. I want to give them a light blueprint, a skeleton of how I did it. And I want to challenge them and double dare them to do it because it won't be easy. It'll be extremely hard. And people are going to stand in your way to try to make sure you don't get there. And you just got to zig and zag, bob and weave, and go to these type of functions where you hear other people talk about concepts. And, you know, I only have an hour for this. And I really hope I don't come off braggadocious or arrogant because I see how sometimes when I'm spitting things, I'm talking about being confident and I'm talking about having belief in yourself. It could come off that way, but it's truly not my intention. So, when it comes to, I don't know if we get to do questions here, but if we do, you know, don't be shy, man. Just ask me. I'm here. This is it. I'm really hyped for today and to talk to you guys and let's break it down. Is there another slide? Oh, so here goes into more of the shoe. You know, I've done Air Force Ones. I've done Air Max. Worked with Jordan, Supreme, Undefeated. These are brands I already rock. You guys are, you know, they're my friends I've developed also over the years. So a lot of this is, you know, not just that if you can draw or you're creative, but who you surround yourself by, you know, uh, paying attention to those friends that really want to see you win, and yeah, cutting out the loose the ones that don't work out, and just keep it moving. But this is another thing that's huge to be able to work with Nike and see how that machine works, you know. And I also did at least 30 public outreaches with Nike to be able to bring busloads of kids in, feed them, and spit these concepts to them. That way, when I go and do the Mayans Fox TV promo where I'm going to get overpaid, I don't want to. It could come off that we are stealing from culture, that we're selling our culture. You know, I look at it more like that's just got to be drawn properly, and I'm going to let people peek in to how we do it. That's my concept. So it's going to get done regardless. This poster is going to get painted, but why not by someone that's a part of the movement or the culture, you know? So that's really it, you know. Now I'm able to do projects that uh, if you would have told me years ago, I wouldn't believe you. You know, I'm working on games like Grand Theft Auto, or um, doing the logos for the groups or the bands, or being able to tattoo people that I'm inspired from. You know, but we're going to talk about inspiration. I think we're going to talk about all these things as we go down.
Thank you
Dope.
so much. Yeah, thank you so much. That was so in depth. I really appreciate you sharing, you know, your story.
Yeah,
That's deep. That's deep. And again, that's one of the
sure.
reasons why we consider you to be a disruptor, right? Because you've managed to
Mm,
navigate through everything that you've experienced, but you're always giving back. So you're always teaching, you know what I mean? It's like you were the student,
sure.
now you're the professor. You're teaching the youth, and you're teaching the community, and you're the beacon of light that we need, basically. So
Thank
I
you.
just want to commend you for that. You're welcome, brother. So you did tell us a little bit about like education and training and how you got started. So I'm gonna
Mm.
just jump into like how do you see your own personal background like influence your work, and what do you hope others can learn from your experiences through your creations?
Yeah, I've been going back into briefly my past of education. My parents dropped me off at the Archdiocese Catholic School. You know, they try to do their best. You know what I'm saying? It's better than what they had, and I survived. You know, Catholic Church is like an atheist factory. You know, I did come out of that as a non-believer. I did as a free thinker and as a humanist. Um, but I understand. I think it's some of the most beautiful art in the world. You know what I mean? So I looked at that. And I've been to Milan and I've been in those cathedrals and some impressive things in there. You know, the artwork is breathtaking. But I went through that, and then I went to some. I went to LA Unified after that. I went to San Pedro High, graduated. Um, from there, I briefly went to LA Trade Tech. Uh, LA Trade Tech showed me one year. I stayed there and learned sign graphics. So I learned how to use a brush and how to do lettering, to understand weights, spacing, and presentation, and overall balance. So it showed me a lot. But after that, I got the boot, and I just couldn't, you know, I couldn't focus. My brain was just exploding with ideas, and I would get like that, you know. Where does inspiration come from? Where does this all, you know? I started off to be like a blue collar artist because I was like, look, coming out of graffiti, I wanted to get like do man style art, masculine artwork, right? That the guys would be proud of me. You know what I'm saying? So sign painting and then tattooing, graph, and then learning how to do like apparel that we could wear, like for us. I never dreamt I would go to the red carpet in Fashion Week in Milan. You know what I mean? That wasn't the plan. The plan was to make stuff that we could rock because the birth of streetwear brands was being born in the early 90s. I was fortunate enough to see it.
Let me ask you this: like, how do you see yourself disrupting like fine art spaces, especially with your, with street art and then your fine art style?
Sure. First of all, I love the disruptor concept, the whole idea of not having to follow the guidelines put up by old people that were there before us that didn't. That stuff has always got to evolve, in my opinion. Um, I love that we just brought our style to it. Our style is not supposed to be in a contemporary art museum. It's chiseled in a bathroom stall on the wall or a jail cell. It's carved in. It's tattooed on someone that doesn't fit into these lines in society. And that was one of the toughest things too, is like influence, inspiration, because I also had this thing of where my parents told me I was gifted from God and that I had this special talent. And I was like, oh shit, I've been blessed by God. What? That's the shit, you know. Don't tell me that, you know, because I'll take it. I'll take it all the way to the. And then by you guys seeing those drawings I did as a little kid, I wasn't. My parents lied to me. I wasn't sprinkled with fairy dust and made me this artist. I found out as I got older that everybody could draw, and I was like, "Oh, these people are dope." I'm glad they're just drawing like flowers and regular stuff because if they were doing what I was doing, technically they were superior. And that was a huge thing to my ego because I had been given mixed messages. A, you tell me I got superpowers. Then I found out I don't have superpowers. And then I'm like, I got to do this. I'm responsible for my career. I'm responsible for how I feel. I'm responsible for these jobs. And I can only be responsible for my side of the street. So being understanding that I didn't have God there as my is like this invisible parole officer that's watching over me, keeping track, and also sprinkling me and letting me win. I mean, I hope God isn't like some fan of graph and he's helping out. He should be working. He has bigger fish to fry if there ever she or whatever this thing is. I can go hours on just those concepts. But how does that adapt to my artwork is that I want the same things that your pastor wants. I want my kids to be safe. I love my wife. I get that warm, fuzzy feeling when I see my children interact. I want to help people. I want to be of service to my community. I want to beautify my community. But I just look at it as I got to do this, and we can do this. Me and you can do this. So I don't want to offend anybody in listening to this. I really don't. I just hear a lot of God talk these days on people being like, "This is for you, baby." You know, I'm like, damn, God watches the BET Awards? Like, this is crazy. He watches ESPN. He shouldn't be doing that, man. There's real problems. So I'll end it with this. I have had a very fortunate life. I have had an amazing life. I've been around the world, and God had absolutely nothing to do with it. So I just thought I'd get that out of the way so we can move on.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
I did want to ask you though too, like while we're on the subject of disruption, right? Could you tell us like how you've seen your specific art style disrupt corporate design, and
Sure.
and how has it also disrupted corporate branding and helped it evolve?
Yeah, that's heavy. I mean, being a disruptor, I mean, after my last couple sentences, you can see that is definitely just ruffling some feathers and disrupting people. But I don't talk about it. I'll talk about it in this forum. You know, I don't go on heavy crusades with it. I'm more about um, bringing our culture out there. Like we watch TV, we don't see ourselves represented. If we see anything with graffiti or a lowrider or anything, damn, that looks tight. Like we get so hyped, you know. So I'm more interested in making programs for you guys, that stuff you guys want to watch. So now I'm dealing with these corporate companies. A lot of them they have young people like yourself in these positions, ready to have a budget. They want to put stuff out there. And I've got to be able to get the most hardcore looking, edgy artwork out there as I can without offending people, you know. There'll be a time to offend people, but not on this corporate gig, because this corporate gig gets me paid to where I can go do the Supreme window or I can go speak at a school. So there's a good balance, but a lot of my artwork does get a little raunchy. It's for adults. You know what I'm saying? You can look over your shoulder. The art guy's got a gun out on you. There's the devil and angel. These concepts. You know, my son goes, "Hey, Dad, for a non-believer, you sure do draw heaven and angels a lot." You know, like it's okay, son. They're Victoria's Secret angels. You can be okay. But I sent my kids to Catholic school, huh? There's a good experiment right there. But I want them to be able to be raised the way I was. Your culture, this is what your culture is. You check it out and you make the decision, right? I don't want to tell my children what to believe. I want to show them how to think. And I want to, now they're my students because they're teenagers, AKA screen agents, um, 13, 14, 13, 15, 16. They're open. I got to teach them the how to be focused, how to be aggressive, but stay humble, if you will, you know, in that. But yeah, it's going now. Now we're doing like I'm doing stuff with like Uno cards, and working with these baseball teams and doing this stuff. Uh, it's surreal, but I want to keep grounded and I want to be picky about what I do.
Yeah, and then just like touching base on that, right? Because staying grounded, being that you're an Angeleno, um,
Mm-hmm.
what motivated you to build your base of operations in downtown LA? And like, is there a special significance that LA represents to you?
Sure, I was, born and raised here. I was born in California Lutheran Hospital in downtown, and my parents lived in Mid City for a while, and then they split to the Harbor area. So, downtown has a lot of meaning to me. And when I was 18 and 19, I kept hearing about this place, this district for artists. And, I always felt kind of like a weirdo. You know what I mean? I always felt like outside or didn't fit all the way in because I had these, fool, you're weird, man. Fools would tell me, damn, maybe I am. But then when I was around the artists, they'd be like, you're weird. So like they embraced that I was different. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I just went down there and I was like that. These guys lived in warehouses and over the bridge. Man, that's East Los. That's Boyle Heights right there. Like that's the birth of zoot suiting, low riding. Man, but in here is all these weird artists, man, and they think they're in Beverly Hills or something, but they're in downtown, And when we went in the early '90s, it was real rough. It still hadn't been. Right now, you go down there, you won't reckon. Other than the extreme homelessness, is wheatgrass bars and dog walkers, and that's where we started to shake the spot a little bit. We were like, you know what, this gentrification is coming in hard, and it came in so hard that they kicked out all the artists. They kicked out all the people that made the place cool because you can't charge 25,000 a month for my warehouse, which I paid 3,500, and sometimes you'd be late on that rate, on that rent. You know what I mean? So yeah, a lot of our friends got pushed out, and but we were there for about 15 years, and we were shaking them up, and we were putting ourselves in prime position. Then we would go to Hollywood. Then we would go to Fred Siegel and have lunch. We would go to these places we weren't supposed to be. But I was like, the pasta's bomb there. I want to go there. Why can't I go there? Well, just the waiters look like, what I mean? The waiters are looking at you like, what you fools doing here? We're leaving hydraulic fluid in the parking lot, and we just love being around creative people.
And then speaking of which, right, just creative people. We have a lot of creative people tuning in and watching today. What advice would you give to these students, aspiring artists that want to follow in your footsteps from all of the knowledge that you've had? I know it's kind of like a overall general question, but
Sure.
you could fit it all in. What advice would you give these students, these aspiring artists?
Yeah, I would tell them to do what I did. Do it for free. You've got to do this because if you don't, it should make you sick. You should get nauseous if you don't draw that day, or if you don't write something down, or you don't watch something, or you don't have to produce every day, but you got to produce up here. First thing you can do is you throw some words out of your vocabulary. Don't use words like bored. Oh, I'm bored. Don't throw that away. If you're bored, you're boring. So if you're bored, that means you're not creating. You're not thinking. You're not noticing shadows. You're not noticing textures on the wall. You're not picking up on people's faces and the wrinkles and their texture. Stop using defeating language, man. Stop putting yourself down all the time. Stop thinking yourself low like that. Stop use words like try or maybe or can't. And just kind of be like, I am going to do that. I will be there. Or, if you can't be there, yes, tell someone straight up and down, I won't be there. So I started to study a language on how I talk to my brain, because I've almost convinced myself that I am this artist that can do it, that's focused, that's gonna really dive into my career. Like I'm in my prime right now. I'm 51. I'm so hyped. I get up early. I really, really love this, And I would tell those people, as long as you feel like that, then you're in the right place. And if you don't, you can get there by reinforcing concepts that are proven in your life, right? I don't want to get too heavy, and I don't want to sound like self-help, right? But I've taken in everything I could take in. I listen to people's life stories. I love biography. I want to hear what these people have been through. And I'll listen to any of these businessmen, because I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't go to university. I didn't go to college. I have to constantly take this stuff in. So I want to hear what I want to know what all millionaires have in common. right? And I don't want the money to take advantage of people or to step on people. I want the money to be able to help. I want to have the money to be able to do creative projects that I wouldn't if I was struggling, and I've done my share of struggling.
Thank you for answering that. We're gonna get some Q&A. Well, from the audience, right? We have our audience members here asking questions. So the first
So,
one I'm gonna ask you is from Craig, and he wants to know, who were your artistic influences?
wow. I had different influences coming up, a lot of them, like, I think my first heavy influence was like Japan animation, seeing Speed Racer and all the cartoons that would come out of Japan. They just seemed like extra emotional and crazy. And that was my first thing. And then album cover art, vinyl records. I would emulate um, groups, Grandmaster Flash or ACDC album cover or something, And there was no, obviously, the internet or anything like that. So, uh, fortunately, I lived through my art, and I was influenced by all these. I got a lot of influence from actors, like someone say like Robert De Niro or Cheech. When I seen Cheech and Chong for the first time, I was like, oh shit, like, that's that there that's okay. It can be done. It can be done. So I think Cheech was a huge influence on me, man. Christopher Hitchens as a thinker, George Carlin, all these people definitely made me think different. And my father was a huge influence. He's a character. He's funny. Everyone loves my old man. Um, and just watching his work ethic and how he treated people gave me that skill to kind of like talk to people in a crowd or whatever.
Thank you. I have another one for you. This is from Daniel Pozos, and he's asking, or uh, Mr. Cartoon, did Chicano art from the 1960s and 1970s ever have any impact on your art?
Yeah, that's a great question. It definitely had an impact on my art. I think that's when my artwork started to go more dark. I started to see in high school letters come out of the California system, and there would be this letter coming from up north, from Corcoran or something like that, and the whole thing would be muraled out. It'd have a rose. It was real soft, and it looked like someone spent a long time on it. And I was like, oh man, now like hip hop was just like NWA's first album was out, the Beastie Boys' first album, LL Cool J was out, um, DJ Quick, this music that was like a soundtrack when you looked at that art. So that's what I would do is I'll play that music while I was drawing, and I was just there's an artist that inspired me, a boy from Longo. Boy actually drew all the Victory Outreach artwork. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, he's dope. And but he was a street guy and ended up dying to the street life. And now a lot of the guys I looked up to were the System, weren't going to do live. These were some of the most known names in Black and Gray. And then there was other people like Jack Rudy and Freddie Negrete. Those guys definitely innovated East LA Black and Gray.
I'm gonna actually ask you. That's the next question. This is from Kits from England. They're watching from England,
Dope.
asking, looking at the pieces behind you, both yourself and Gustavo, do you feel more drawn to working with color or grayscale within your work? Thank you.
What's up, mates? Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely lean towards Black and Gray and that tonal. It reminds me of Bogart gangster movies and um, you know, all these original shows that were showed in black and white. I thought everything before 1970 was in black and white, like the world was in black and white. So this is because everyone had black and white TVs, right? So this is my world that I'm creating that is black and white, and it just looks better to me. And then, and the reason I draw that too is, you know, we weren't able to get our hands on all kinds of colors. You know, you can get some Indian ink and a black pen. You did all your artwork with the big pens and stuff. So that's the look we were after for sure.
I have another one here from Alberto Perez. What is your creative motivation now than when you were 17 or 18 years old?
Yeah, that's a good question. I still have the same motivation. I'm still doing spray paint. I still have to do tattoo. Not right now in the corona, but I've been tattooing hardcore up to this point. Um, Still airbrush a t-shirt like this the way, but now I'm showing my kids how to do it, showing my daughters how to airbrush t-shirts and how to use spray paint. You know, they don't have to go into the graph yards and go to jail and go do all. They don't have to. They can get the benefits and bring our culture up at the same time by celebrating things we do better than a lot of other people. When it comes to tattooing, when it comes to candy painting cars, when it comes to fashion, we do things our way, and it's arguably our tattooing style. We put it up against anybody in the world.
Let me ask you this. This is from Julian. I cannot pronounce the last name, so I'm not going to try to butcher it, Julian. What was it like for you when you first opened your tattoo studio?
You know, when you open up your first tattoo studio, it's a little nerve-wracking, you know. But I had worked in enough street shops to say, I don't want a street shop. I want people to come that want my style. So at that time, it was kind of unheard of to do a private tattoo studio in downtown LA. Because back then, people didn't want to go, they wanted to go to Hollywood. When you thought of tattoos, you thought of Venice or Hollywood. And they didn't want to go downtown. That was too east side for them. Now they go to downtown all the time, right? But we were like, man, how are we going to get them to downtown? And we just stuck to our guns, and we just dealt with people, and that's how we learned how to deal with people. You know, you have a tattoo studio, customer shows up, they're nervous. Before they even got there, four people try to talk them out of it before they even got there. Oh, my homeboy could do it cheaper. You're gonna go all the way to LA, fly to LA. There's a guy down the street that could do it better. The wife's arguing, hey, we need to redo the bathroom, and you're gonna go get this tattoo from this character, you know. So already they've been people trying to talk them out of it, and they're mad nervous, and they're moving, they start drinking, you know, all kinds of different factors. I've been drawing on people, and they just flat out pass out on me from the Sharpies. You know what I'm saying? So you got people that are very emotional. So my concept was this: tattooing was lowbrow, dirty, next to the pool hall and the strip club. I'm gonna make mine the clean bathroom. So if you bring a girl, she can actually use the restroom. I'm gonna throw some bottled waters in the refrigerator, and I'm gonna mimic the people I've seen on the West Side in my studio. I'm gonna, oh, hey, can I order you something to eat? And hey, look, we're gonna park your car for you. Don't worry about that. These little things to make a lowbrow thing seem a little more high end, but it still was us. But making it, polishing out all that we could, making it the best we could, and seeing our art form as high as say the Japanese look at theirs. You know.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And just personally visiting the studios and walking in the spaces, I can attest to that and say that, yeah, definitely. It's like the Mercedes Benz, of tattoo
Thank you.
shops because it's very classy. It's fly, the colors, the decor. I mean, it's up there. It's super upscale. Um, which leads us into this question. This is from
Mm.
Tommy. Tommy's asking, well, he's saying, I'm a longtime fan since the days of cartoon Sidekick and early Cypress Hill and Soul Assassin art.
Mm.
How can someone like me get a tattoo by you? Uh, Fellow Chicanos need some Chicano art by a real Chicano legend.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's you know, tattooing right now in this environment, man, you should have caught me last year. You know, tattooing is definitely has to be relooked at. You know what I mean? It's an industry that we were getting a lot better, man. Like the health department didn't even check on the tattoo industry for 20, 30 years. Now we're really getting a lot better, and we have to take like courses and blood pathogens and understand cross-contamination and these type of gigs. But right now I'm really on some doing tattooing. I've really paid my dues with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I've done it relentlessly for 25 years. And now that my kids are teenagers, I definitely want to be like chill with them. And I'm gonna knock out some tattoos, but I'll probably do 5 a year. And for you to be one of those 5, boy, you better have something going, something popping. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, I've tattooed enough of my homeboys for free, knuckleheads that got out of jail. We've done all that. Matter of fact, once a year I'll probably give it to one character that can't afford it for sure. You know what I mean? There's no way he would be able to get into the studio. And a lot of times we might, hey, but that usually goes to the interns that are working. That's where the young Chicano gets a tattoo. That is usually the guys that have been working with us. But you never know. You could definitely get one day. So hang in there and think positive.
Let me ask you this. This is from Jennifer Hines. What is in your, or in my wildest dream, a project that you would love to do in the future? Because the detail in your work is phenomenal.
Thank you. You know, I'm really looking at pushing myself now. And where do I want to go over the next 10 years? Where am I going to be in 10 years? You know, what's the evolution? Where's all this going? Um, for me, the answer was animation. Being able to tell, I'm a storyteller at heart, and I've been preparing for this my whole life. So know that if you guys are somewhere right now and you might be frustrated and things aren't going your way, that's all necessary. There's no way everything's going to work out for you. It's impossible. So you have to take in those ugly times or those bad times. Not as easy as the good times, but it's easy to be happy when something good happens to you, right? So question pushing yourself is very important. So for me, animation was the answer to make this situation behind me move, conversations, music, and I'm pulling in all the elements that I've been working on. Me and my wife have a hobby called Soul Sundays that we do every Sunday. We play vinyl records. Each song we play is usually a vinyl record. Some of them original, very old. Some of them are repops. Main thing is keep it going. Every 10 years, you have to reintroduce yourself, right? Believe it or not, you got to reintroduce this music. So now I've been doing it for 10 years on the Instagram. It's going to fill the music spot for my animation. So everything ends up tying in, but I'm really pushing myself to, hey, design a car for Chevrolet. Let me design the Silverado interior, you know, let me make the new Impala. So that would be something that seems way out down the road, but could definitely happen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tunes, for everything, man. Because again, you're inspirational, you inspire, you push boundaries, you're constantly disrupting the corporate world and all the worlds in the fine arts world. So I
Thank
want to
you.
thank you personally for being our guest. I really wish we had more time. As always, I think eventually this will evolve to a 2 hour show, and
Oh, for sure.
we'll reach out to you definitely. So I'm going to pass it over to Bianca. Thank you so much again, Cartoon, for being here, being
Gustavo,
part of us.
thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.
Cartoon. Gustavo,
Yeah.
you both just, that conversation for the last hour was so amazing and so inspirational. And I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to shout out some people in the Q&A portal that are throwing some compliments at you, Cartoon, because some of these are
Awesome.
really awesome. Lila Buenuelo says, Mr. Cartoon, you're not a show off, you're a humble man representing Chicano culture. Thank you for reaching out to your community.
All right.
And we've got someone else. Kenneth Gaines says that he saw your work at the Museum of Latin American Art tattoo exhibition that Carlos
So,
Ortega curated, and
yeah.
he loved it. And he says, thank you for today.
Yeah.
And we have someone else who says, thank you for reaching out to your community and your people, and that he felt like the youth in the 90s were in danger, and that he's happy you're on the lookout for them now.
Yeah. That's what's
Yeah.
up.
So
Well,
I'll
I
send you a Q&A report, but you've got a lot of
think,
fans out there, Cartoon.
oh, that's dope. That's really, really dope. And we come up together, you know what I mean? And everyone listening to this, there's going to be a time where someone asks you, if you follow your goals and you push hard, someone's gonna go, hey man, come and talk to my kids at this art class, you know, and you're not gonna get paid for it. You gotta take off work, go do it. You know what I mean? Do every one of these that you get asked.
That's what's up.
Yes.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you both again so much for being so real with us and so inspirational today. Cartoon, your drive as an artist and your drive to motivate others is just like so infectious, and we really appreciate your time here today.
Thank you,
And thanks
Bianca.
everyone who joined us. This program has been recorded. It will be available on the Fowler's Instagram and on our website for you to revisit and share. And we hope that you'll join us for our next program. You can see details on the closing slide. In the meantime, have a great weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
See you guys next time.